Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and listening to everything that I'm going to tell you today about Disney Cruise Line. I'm going to make sure that everyone is muted here, and it looks like we all are. And this is being recorded, so those of you that want to go back later, and maybe listen or share it with someone else, it will be posted on our YouTube channel. It'll be posted on our podcast channels, although you won't have the visuals there. And I will post it on our Facebook page. So you do have that you can go back and look at. However, I am super excited to get started and talk about this because I decided a few weeks ago that as Disney Cruise Line was coming back and sailing again, that I wanted to be on those ships and I wanted to experience it and see what's happening because my family loves the Disney Cruise Line ships and we have really missed being on them. And so I wanted to go see what happens. So I have prepared a PowerPoint to share with you all today, and I'm going to share my screen here so that we can get started with that. And I need to click there to share my screen. And you should be able to see it now. And I'm going to start that presentation. Okay, there we go. So if you can see that, everyone, this is Back to the Sea with Disney Cruise Line. And yes, I'm the owner of Wish Upon a Star with Us Travel. I have lots of wonderful, amazing agents that love Disney Cruise Line just as much as I do. And I know some of them are on this today and listening in just to hear everything that I have experienced. So I'm going to take you through step by step the process of what I did to get on the ship with my family. It was my husband and I and our adult son with Down syndrome. So he, travels with us, and take you through just everything that happened from the beginning before we left through when we were on the ship. So the first two very important steps that you have to do when you're getting ready to sail is, number one, the Safe Passage website. Now, Disney is emailing you all this information. You're also going to get it from your Wish Upon a Star with Us agent. We're going to be sending you emails that are giving you this information. So because I booked this trip, about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, mine happened fairly quickly. You sign into the Safe Passage website about a month before your trip. If you're traveling with kids, you can put the kids on your account. If it's adults, then each adult will actually have their own account. However, it's all linked together under your reservation number. So it gives us three different things: the pre-sale, the embarkation, and then to disembark. And then as soon as they have looked at my information that I have uploaded here, whether or not I am vaccinated, so I had to upload a vaccine card. I decided I didn't want to go through the testing. I wanted to upload my card. So I did that. I also uploaded a picture of my passport. And then by doing that, it takes, usually about 48 hours. And then this shows that it is clear and it will be all in green for you to sail. If there's any question, and if it still looks like this and it's pending, getting closer to your sail date, then you would want to give them a call or give your agent a call and let them know what's going on so that, we can follow up and make sure. But it was easy for us. And then I'll show you in the next screen what they actually give you when you're done with, uploading everything. Then the Disney Cruise online check-in. You want to make sure you go to disneycruiseline.com and set up an account. Now that account is going to be the same as if you have a Disney World account, maybe you have a Disney Plus, maybe you have ESPN. So it's all the same username and password, and you'll go in there and you'll complete this online check-in. And it just gives Disney an idea of when you're arriving at the port or how you're arriving at the port, if you're using transportation, if you're going to be driving. And then when you get all checked in, it's going to give you this all set to sail. And then you can view your port arrival form. And then you actually also have a third little thing that's super helpful to have is the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app. So you can download that at home if you want to be thinking of that, when you're still at home, or you can wait till you get to the port terminal. There's really nothing you can do with this when you're at home anyhow. But it's just nice to, go ahead and download it on your Wi-Fi. You'll link your reservation number in here, and then everything is on there. And I know a lot of people say, I don't want to travel with my phone. I don't want to always be looking at my phone. You don't have to. I know my husband and son, they put theirs away. I did keep mine with me, but I have it with me for pictures. So it was super easy. I could check times, activities, menus. When you get to the restaurants now, they don't have, you're not getting a big menu any longer. But I mean, really, my husband laughed. He said, they probably used to have a room full of these menus, for all the hundreds they needed at every dining room. So now it's just right there, really easy, comes up on the home screen of your app. It tells you, hey, you're eating at, such and such restaurant tonight, Animator's Palette, here's the menu, click. And then we would just click and look at the menu and just, decide what we wanted. You can also use the QR code on your phone to do the same thing. You can also see onboard charges. You can chat with people. I'll show you that a little bit later in the screens, but I use this quite a bit. So the morning of your cruise, and do not do this before, just in case you are flying in, you don't want to put that luggage tag on there yet, but you will actually put that on there, whether you're, whoops, I'm so sorry. I had this issue before with it wanting to move forward on me. Let me go back there. So you're going to put that on there the morning that you're heading to the ship. You'll also complete a health form, and it can only be done that very morning of the cruise. And again, you don't have to worry so much about this because you're going to get an email, and that app is going to come up just like the app right here on the screen and says, health questionnaire, you must do that. And you're going to do it for everybody in your party. So just one person, can be on the app and do it, or you can click, on the email that they sent you, sign into your account. And then they just want to ask questions like, have you been exposed to COVID? Are you having any symptoms of COVID? And I think they also asked possibly if I had traveled outside the country in the last week or, had traveled internationally. So there's just a couple questions that they ask. And you'll fill that in just that very morning. Click, click. It took me probably, 90 seconds. And then just make sure you have all your documentation with you. So if you're using birth certificates with an ID, picture ID, or if you're using passports and your vaccine card, you'll want to keep those with you. Make sure it does not go in that luggage. And then the QR codes that I'll show you on the next screen. And those QR codes arriving at the port, it was so easy. So we stayed at the Hyatt in the airport the night before because we got in about, I think it was 11 o'clock that night. So we got on the transportation the next morning. And when we got to the port, and again, it went forward on me there. When we got to the port, all we did was get off the bus. They scanned our boarding pass first, and it's a little piece of paper that you will just print right off from that online check-in. You can have it emailed to you, you can print it, and it just has little QR codes for everybody in your party, and they just scan it. It took literally 5 seconds. They scanned it, they sent us to the next person, and that was the health form. And that's what you get from that Safe Passage website that I mentioned at the beginning. And that's for folks that are either uploading a vaccine card or uploading a test. Some, things are changing all the time. We're going to go over the Bahamian rules. So very shortly, they won't be accepting, that test anymore for people 12 and up. But they'll scan that health form and then they'll send you to the appropriate place. And for us, it was actually really simple. You were just able to go right to the next place, which was entering the terminal, and you'd walk up. And it said, visit the health screening area first. And then once it says clear to sail on your little QR code, you just walk up to the next person, they scan it and they say, come on in. And as soon as we came in, there were people standing there that looked at our passports, like I'm doing there, and just showing them the passport. She took a picture of it. There were no lines. I mean, right now the ships are not sailing full, obviously. And so it was very quick and easy to get through. They do have people, spaced out. So they're going to tell you, please arrive at the port during a certain port arrival time. And that is very, very important. They will turn you away if your port arrival time is, 12:30 and you show up at 11 o'clock. They will not even let you in the parking lot. They're going to turn you away and have you come back at 12:30. And they're just doing that to space everybody out. And then next was going into the security area. Very simple. Again, it's kind of like going through airport security. They're just going to run everything, through there. And then next you're going up the escalators or the stairs into that uncharted magic. And it's so cool because then you get up here to the port or to the terminal, and inside the terminal, it looks very similar to the way it did before, except for me, it was a little bit more open. You don't have all the lines inside. They have, hand sanitizer right here as you walk up. They've got that. They've got seating all around. You don't need to go check in at the any kind of line. Once you're up there, you're done, and you're just waiting for them to call your boarding group number. This was what I wanted to go over, which is really, really important right now, especially for the Disney Dream. The Disney Dream sails 3 and 4 night cruises in the Bahamas. And this is something that, has been obviously very stressful for people, but there's nothing that Disney can do about it. There's nothing that any cruise line can do about it. This is a government rule right now that's going to go into place beginning September 3rd. So the very last sailing of the Disney Dream will be August 30th before they're going to require this. And at that point, everybody age 12 and older needs to be fully vaccinated up until the sailings up until November 1st. That's just the ruling right now. And as everybody knows, things keep changing, whether it's in our own states, in our own cities, whether people are supposed to wear face coverings or not wear face coverings. And so this is just something that the Bahamas has done. And this also does pertain to the private islands. And that's why it's affecting Disney, because Disney is not allowed to take anybody to their private island unless they are ages 12 and up and fully vaccinated. So just something to pay attention to. If you are on a sailing of the Dream during this time, just be aware of that. Disney obviously is offering, full refunds. They're offering you to change your cruise. I mean, they're being very generous about this, but this does not is out of their control. So I just want to make sure I pointed that out. So boarding, this is the exciting part. So when we got there and we're ready to board, it was the same as before. They did space people out, but walking across that gangplank and going in there was just like, oh my gosh, here we are. It's like being home again. But it is a little different when you walk inside now. The difference is you don't just walk in. I mean, they still call your name, announce your family, everybody's clapping for you. But now when you walk in, they're going to usher you over to what they called a family bubble there in the lower part of the screen. And I've got our feet there, lovely, but it's a big, about 5-foot big family bubble. And they ask everybody to stand on that bubble. And the reason they're doing that is to help guide you to different places. And then they're going to give you a little welcome show. And Mickey and Minnie are right there. They're waving to everybody. And then they do a little, 2-minute little show and song and sing and dance a little bit for everyone. And then someone comes over to you and takes you to your safety briefing. And that safety briefing is trying to get there. That safety briefing is where your spot is, where you would go for your lifeboat. So in case of an emergency. And, before, for those of you that have ever been on a cruise, normally you're all going together, everybody's gathering there and you're hearing what the horn sounds like and all the emergency stuff. Whereas now you're actually going to do that and you're going to check into your safety, your briefing in your spot separately as a family. And so this gentleman checked us in. His name is Matthew. So we were chatting with Matthew. And what was really cool is they put people in different areas of the ship, obviously as you're boarding and getting on. And I asked Matthew, I said, well, Matthew, what do you normally do? And he said, well, you're going to see me in the show tonight. And so Matthew is actually LeFou in Beauty and the Beast. And so that was really exciting for us. But anyways, once you do that, they're going to check it off on your app. They're going to put you in that you have come by. And so you'll see in there that you had done the safety briefing. Somebody wanted me to clarify my statement about the islands. It's not about getting off the ship. It's just that you can't actually even sail to the Bahamas. And well, it is about getting off the ship and getting onto one of the islands, but those cruise lines are not even going to allow you to go. Now, if you're under 12, that's okay. They are allowed to come. It's just people 12 and up that have the ability at this point to get vaccinated. The Bahamas is requiring that vaccination. So if it's anyone that's 11 and under that's not vaccinated, they will still need to do their testing at the port. They'll have to do testing prior to arriving at the ship. It's within 5 days. And then they also have to do the rapid test when they arrive at the port. So that has not changed. I apologize for not saying that before. That has not changed at all. So when you are first checking in and you're scanning that health form, if you have children with you, or anyone 11 and under that still needs to be tested, you'll just be routed to a different area with a tent. I actually did see that area. It was very nice. They were very efficient, very kind. They have, nice, cool waiting areas for folks. And some people were getting their, results back very quickly and then getting to go get their, QR code that was safe and clear. And then they were able to board the ship. So they're just not even being able to go right now if they're 12 and up and not vaccinated after the August 30th sailing. And let me go to the next slide here. So initial noticeable safety things that I saw. So, many of you will remember you typically get your, well, there we go. I am just not able to work this. Sorry about that. You usually get your key and your lanyards and stuff in the terminal. Now they're not doing that. They're putting the keys on the stateroom door. So when you get to your stateroom, they were ready when we got on board. And so we got to the stateroom, the little sticker, committed to cleanliness, all the different areas that they're really cleaning in your stateroom, even more than before. And for those of you that have sailed Disney, those ships and those staterooms are pristine to begin with. We felt very comfortable, very, very safe. I did not feel that, ever, bad in any way. The health and safety reminders are all around you. This is walking in for lunch. So as you walk into cabanas, which is one of the options that you can go to lunch, it typically was a buffet. It's still buffet, but they're going to serve you and they're just behind the glass. And so as you walk up, you just let them know what you want. But they do ask that you wash your hands on the way in, and you cannot avoid that. I watched a young man walk in and kind of veer around it, and they were like, come here, you need to wash your hands. So they do ask that you do that. So not only are there hand sanitizers around, but they do want people washing their hands prior to going in and eating. And then things like this, you're going to see a lot of hand sanitizers around. But even the elevators, my husband even commented, he's like, wow, we never felt like people were cramming on an elevator, because it did say one party or two people per elevator, and people did stick with it. They absolutely did. I mean, if I walked up and another family was waiting, they made sure that, we made sure that they got on the elevator first, and then, we would take the next one, but they were coming very quickly. And of course, there's not so many people on board right now, so that wasn't a problem. And then the magic that we remember, so many people are worried that it's going to be gone. It's not. It is there. We had the best cruise. The only problem was it was only 3 nights, and I really, really like to do longer cruises. But the ice cream, and that's my son Aaron getting his ice cream. Honestly, I think some of the changes are really good. As you can see, you do have to go down like a little lane. They do ask you to put on your mask as you are coming up to the people outside there that are serving you. But those 2 gentlemen were there all the time serving ice cream to people. And honestly, I liked it, because you didn't have, a bunch of kids up there getting their ice cream, spilling it everywhere, having to wait for that. These gentlemen were very quick and efficient, and then they would give you your ice cream cone. But out on deck, you did not have to wear a face covering at all. It was just in little areas like this, or when you were walking up for food, that they did ask you to have the face covering on. The food in the restaurants, oh my gosh, it's amazing as ever. This was my dessert at Animator's Palette one night. But for those of you that had been on before too, the food, a lot of the menus are the same as they were before. So for us, that was a really nice feeling of comfort. It's a lot of my favorite foods that they were still serving, that we remembered, with, maybe a few new things here and there, but that was, really, really nice. When you walk into the dining room, obviously you have to have a face covering on. Once you sit down, you do not have to. All of the servers though, are wearing their face coverings. But that interaction is still there with the servers. I don't know how many magic tricks and little brain teasers they gave me, and I don't think I got any of them right, but it was, really fun and fun to meet the servers and speak with them. And of course, the sunsets are still there, and the entertainment. It was just wonderful. Beauty and the Beast was the only big production that was shown on our 3-night cruise. They actually showed it 3 times. They did it 2 evenings. They did a movie in between. They did Jungle Cruise one night in the big theater, and they also had a matinee of Beauty and the Beast. So they could really spread people out. You could go whenever you wanted to go though. I mean, with your seating, just opposite your dining seating, but it was really nice. So we went both nights to the show. My son just loves it. So that's what we chose to do. Characters, and especially princesses. And this is not the best picture. I understand I was taking it from far away, but I did want to show this because I think one of the biggest concerns for people is, are their kids going to get to interact and be, getting the character interaction and seeing them? Yes, 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 and yes. And we stood back. We were up a little bit on one of the other decks, looking down onto deck 3. And I can tell you, Rapunzel was squatted down there talking to this little girl that was also dressed as Rapunzel. for like the whole time we were there, 10 minutes. And once we walked downstairs, I could hear the conversation and, oh, your dress, did you make your dress too? And, it was going through, that little girl had so much time with Rapunzel because nobody else, was there. I mean, another kid might run up here and there. And those other two kids there talking to Jasmine, my gosh, they were there too forever. And so, yes, they have them back, so that everybody feels safe. They're back from the characters, the princesses. However, the interaction they were getting, compared to before, where the princess would be there and there would be a line and then people would get to come up, take their picture, maybe sign an autograph and move on. Now they're just really getting that interaction. And personally, if I was a kid right now, I would much rather have this time to go and just really talk to the princesses and be there. Same thing happened with my son a couple times with some of the characters that he likes. Okay, Castaway Key Day. Oh my gosh, we actually got 2 days at Castaway Key. It's what they used to call a double dip. Fabulous. The beach, the barbecue, the ocean, the water activities. If you choose to do an excursion, the bars, it's all there. It's all amazing. You do not need a face covering on the island, except again, when you go into a store or when you walk up to get your food, because with the barbecue there, most of it's outside. You can walk up and get drinks and things like that. They are serving those. But when you walk inside for just those few minutes to go through the buffet line, then they are still serving you. They always served you some of that stuff anyhow at the barbecue, but they do ask that you put your face covering on. The one thing that was different is they did do a virtual queue. So that morning at, I think it was, we were supposed to go ashore at 9:30. So at 8:30, they opened a virtual queue right there on my app. And so I just clicked, to join the queue. And as you see here, I mean, supposedly there were, so many groups ahead of us, but my time to get off was at 9:40. I will tell you, they did not go by that. I think it's something that they're testing for later. So right now they're not using that queue. Anyone can get off at any point, but it is meant to try to space people out. So it does work. We played around with it a little bit. You could leave the queue, come back and everything, but nothing was too long. It's not like you're waiting for hours, but again, they're allowing anyone to go down and get off at any time, but this is what I think they're working towards eventually. And here's on the island, just a little bit of what it looks like, here, as far as, signage. They've got signage everywhere, maintain that physical distancing. And as you can see, a ton of people are getting off the island, walking along, but you're outside, you don't need that face covering. And then here's just, at one of the restrooms. Oh yeah, they do ask you to wear your face covering when you go into the restrooms. But other than that, nothing else has changed there. And the island, honestly, like if you look at that sign to the left, it looks like everything's been repainted. They've taken a lot of time to do that. And for those of you on this call, I will tell you a little hint, tip, secret. I have been to Castaway Key many, many, many times, but I didn't know this before. And of course, I know that water and sand and things can change. But when you first get off the island, there is an area that's a family beach, and they have a climbing platform. Right now, that climbing platform was not open when we were there. I think it will eventually, it just wasn't open. But that part of the beach, it was very nice in the first part. And then as you went past that platform, it got very, very rocky and shelly. There was shelly, but lots of shells for your feet. There was a lot of seaweed there because we were out floating in the water, which was fine. I mean, plenty of people were there. But then we walked on to the next point, which is where the next barbecue section is, and Pelican Point, which is where they have the water slides and the climbing apparatus there with the water slides. And that is open. That area of the beach is much smaller, but I can tell you it's much more shallow, of course, depending on the tide. But even then, it is much more shallow than the first family beach. And the sand there is very, very smooth. And I think it's because that beach goes on into where they have the bungalows. And I really think that was the second beach that they made when they, were kind of building Castaway Key. And so the sand there is just much nicer. So when you get off the ship, if you go to the second point on the tram to the Pelican Point, that beach, it's a little smaller area there, but it's much nicer, much more shallow. Gosh, we walked out all the way to the rope in the afternoon, and we were barely waist deep. So really great for young kids there. Okay, I am going to the next slide here. There we go. I just wanted to remark about the smiling faces, because I can tell you These cast members have waited a very long time to have all of us back on board, and they are so happy. And these are two gentlemen working on the ship that, are back. Many of them have come from other ships too. They're used to working on maybe the Disney Fantasy. Now they're on the Disney Dream or the Disney Wonder. They said right now they're just all coming back as they can and getting back to work, because that's where they want to be. And they are so happy for us to be there. And you could see it in the joy on their faces. Youth activities. So take a look at the video here. This was obviously midday, sun was shining, but this is how it's set up for parents to bring their kids. So there is a, waiting place with different lines to wait. They were very big on spacing people out. So keep that in mind. Obviously, nobody was waiting there at the time. I never saw a time that youth activities were not open for someone to be able to go to. Now, they do ask that you sign up ahead of time. You get, I think it's 2 ahead of time to sign up for. It'll tell you that in your either your Navigator app, or if you go online and sign into your account prior to your sailing. However, on the sailing, if you pull it up in your app, like it shows here with the youth activities screenshot of the app, they can go for a 90-minute segment, and it would just say book now. So many times I looked at it, I could have, if I had a child that age, I could have just hit book now. I could have booked them into another time. So there were plenty of times open. I'm sure right now that's because there are not a lot of children on the ship. I don't know exactly how many children there were, but there weren't a lot. There actually, aren't obviously, as many families right now as they're trying to keep the numbers down and just getting back to sailing. So no issue right now getting those youth activities and getting the kids signed up. So lots of fun. The pools are all open. They are limiting the amount of people in the pools though. So the deeper pool, family pool, definitely had more people that wanted to go in there and use it. The Aqueduct, awesome coaster, rode it again, love it. All that stuff is open on board. Characters, fireworks. I know we talked a little bit about them before. I loved the fireworks. They did the fireworks 2 nights. They're a little different than the ones that, I'm sorry, not 2 nights, 2 times. They did it once for the early seating people, and then they did it once for what we call the late seating. So those that are having an early dinner around 5-ish, and then those that have the dinner around 8-ish. So they just, swapped and did them at different times just to make, half the people on the ship, but they had little dots that they wanted your family to stand on. Our son didn't really want to stand on a dot. That wasn't a problem. You really could stand anywhere you wanted. It was fine. And the fireworks show was shorter. I actually liked it better than what they'd had before. I thought it was great. It was timed right to the music. It was awesome. And then here was my son's interaction with characters on board. Hook and Smee saw him from way across the ship, and he was waving. He couldn't stand it. He was so excited to see them. And excuse me. And so it was probably 5 minutes that they interacted with him. He walked around, got over here by them. He was saluting right there. They were saluting. He was just so excited. And then, of course, Captain Jack Sparrow. He wanted to make sure we use that title of captain, but he really interacts and talks with you on Castaway Cay. And I'm going to take a drink. Sorry. Okay, and then the Navigator app. I wanted to go over that really briefly. So everything that you do is in this app that's so easy. Like I said, my husband did not use his, and I apologize. I have to cough. It's hot up here and too much talking. So everything we did, we could find in this app. All of our charges, our purchases, I could bring everything up. I never had to swipe my card. It was all just give my room number. And then it would show up on the app like maybe 5 minutes later, maybe an hour later. And you could also add additional gratuity there too. There was the live chat. A couple times I had questions that I wanted to ask a crew member. And so I would just chat in there and they'll just, talk back and forth with you, answer your question. And that really alleviates having the line at guest services. And then here again, this was just our inbox. So if you want to chat with someone, you can also chat with a member of your family too, which is really nice. Any questions that you want to chat right now, I'll stop for a minute. And if you want to put those in the chat box, I can answer them. I didn't see anyone posting in the Facebook ahead of time with any questions. So I didn't have any there to do. Okay. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for listening. I am going to make this into, there is a chat coming up here. I am going to turn this into a podcast. I'm going to put it onto our YouTube channel also, so you can find it later. And then please, if you have other questions, you can go on to wishuponaStarWithUs.com. You can email your agent from there. You can email me and ask a question. Listen to our Take the Trip with Us podcast. This is all about hearing the stories about destinations that we as agents are going to. You'll see, lots of agents do the podcasts or hear them do them about, just tips and tricks they found useful over different destinations that they've been to. You can find that on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. So we're all over, so you can listen to it then. Capacity of the ship. I believe I was told the capacity of our ship at the time was about 25, maybe 30%. Trying to think, 40, 50. Yeah, I would say it was about 30%, knowing I want to say they said it was about 1,500 people or so on board. There is a fee for COVID testing, if not for children. If any adults needed to be tested, if they were not vaccinated, then there is a fee for that. The children, there is no fee for COVID testing prior to boarding. So no, they do get tested for free, because 11 and under, they can't have a vaccine right now since it's not approved. And so Disney is not charging for that. They will need to have a test prior, though. There's a 5-day, time period ahead of time where they do need to have a test before they arrive. And then when they get there, they'll also get that rapid test done. But again, that is free with the rapid test. The program that they have through the Safe Passage does allow for home tests. So if you wanted to order a home test, you could do that for the one that's due 5 days ahead of time. But you also do pay for that too. Any other questions? Well, we just had a fabulous time. It was awesome. I came home and told the rest of the adult children that we needed to go back and do it again with everybody if we could find a time, because it's just, for me, being on the ship, yes, I had to wear a mask inside, but I have to do that other places too around my local area. But the magic's still there. All the fun was still there. The entertainment, the food, the people, there was nothing that I felt that I was, really lacking at all. And honestly, the things that were put into place, really, I felt made it easier for me. Because if I did have a question, I wasn't going to guest services and waiting for 30 minutes in a line. I was just able to, chat them on the app, and I never had to wait more than a few minutes for someone to give me an answer. So it was very quick and easy. So those type of things, I think, were really helpful. You could also book other appointments on there. Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique was open for the kids. You could do, port excursions. Obviously, we just had Castaway Key to visit, but you could do that there too. So no other questions. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate everybody listening, and come listen to our Take the Trip with Us podcast sometime too, and find us there on the YouTube channel. Oh, do we still get mousekeeping twice a day? Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, our host was fabulous. I wish my room at home looked like that. He was awesome. Still popping in to say hi, still knocking on your door, how you doing? They do come, you really don't know when they're coming, but it is still a morning and night. They try to sneak in when you're out for breakfast, and then try to, come back in when you're at dinner, and make everything up. And there are chocolates on your pillow every night now, and they were really good chocolates. But yeah, they were fabulous, still there with their, carts out there. Oh yes, and room service, absolutely. We always have to order room service. The only thing with room service is they don't place it into your room now. They won't walk into your room, which is, probably better anyways, because when my family wants to order room service, I am typically already in my pajamas. So they will just knock on the door. They'll come to the door, and they have the tray right there on a table, and they just ask that you take it there. And then when they do the room service, you will also get a little notification on your app that you ordered room service. Of course, it's $0. It doesn't cost anything to to have room service. There are a few things that you could pay for with room service, but those are free. If you wanted to tip them, you could just tip them right there on the app. So that was really nice too. Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay, well, awesome. Thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you for coming to listen. Bye.